Hello everyone, welcome to Pete's CD Vinyl World. Today making a video that I didn't want to make and I wasn't expecting to make anytime soon, even though I knew one day it would come to this, that Eddie Van Halen has passed away from cancer at age 65. It's been reported in the last, say, year or so that he's been going back and forth to Germany to received some cancer treatments, and everyone was hoping that he was doing well. He even posted some stuff on, I think, Twitter or Instagram, that from time to time he would post a photo saying he was doing okay, and there was even talk of possibly even touring next year, but unfortunately he was passed away. I first saw the Twitter from son Wolfgang, and at first I'm thinking that maybe that it's not real, it's somebody hacked his account or whatever. But then as the day went on, you know, it was confirmed that he did pass away. I mean, what else can you say? He's my personal guitar hero. Started listening to him early 80s. Was around for Van Halen 1. I wasn't old enough to appreciate it then. The first time I heard Van Halen was on MTV. Had MTV early on, actually, 1981 when it started. And there was a live video of the song Unchained. And I just remember seeing that, and the band at the end, Alex with his gong on fire, he was whacking it, and I just thought, wow, this guy's an amazing guitar player. And so from then on, became a huge fan. When I started playing, he was my biggest influence. And, you know, sort of like, besides Hendrix, probably has to be the most influential guitar player of all time. Not just his playing style. Van Halen were sort of, you know, the first, what I'd call it, American metal band, even though they're not really metal. At the time, they were proclaimed to be metal. A lot of bands back in that time period, even like Styx and Meatloaf, were called metal in magazines and stuff like that. But yeah, they a lot of ways influenced the whole late 80s sort of hair band scene, because they came from LA and all those guitar players wanted to be Eddie. So like a lot of those hair metal bands were sort of a combination of like Kiss and Van Halen in a way. But you know, they were one of the few bands, rock bands from the 80s, where I guess you could call Van Halen a 70s band, since their first album came out in 78, you know, that survived the 90s. To me, it was like, I think Van Halen, Metallica, and maybe Bon Jovi survived the 80s. But yeah, I mean, I was an Eddie freak. I have all their albums. I love both Hagar and David Lee Roth era. You know, he did stuff playing wise that not that it hadn't been done before, because there was a couple guys that had tapped on albums. I think Steve Hackett from Yes and Brian May had done a little bit of tapping here and there pre Van Halen 1, but Eddie really put it into the limelight with his guitar solo Eruption off the first album. Also a big influence too, because, you know, before Eddie came around, you either played, you know, a Fender Strat or a Gibson Les Paul, or maybe you played a Gibson SG or maybe a Fender Telecaster, but that was it. Eddie was like, his first Frankenstein guitar was basically a Strat-style body that had a humbucker like this, eventually a locking tremolo. So he was an influence on equipment-wise, not just musically. You know, you couldn't buy a Strat-style guitar with a humbucker, and now it's commonplace. Even Fender makes regular Strats with humbuckers in them. You couldn't do that back then. You had to somehow get a pickup from a Gibson and drop it in your guitar. And even like into the early 80s, it wasn't until like Kramer and Charvel emerged that you could even buy those guitars. Before that, you had to like customize your own Strats and stuff. So, but you know, before Eddie, there wasn't really anybody playing licks like, you know, You know, that kind of stuff you never heard on record before, Eddie. And then it was like overnight, everybody wanted to learn it. I mean, early on he used this, basically a Strat with a humbucker dropped in there, and he used the Strat tremolo, but eventually helped design the locking Floyd Rose tremolo, so when you used it, it didn't knock the guitar out of tune. And before Eddie, you never heard anything like, stuff like that. You never heard guitar players do. Stuff like that, you never really heard other guitar player do before Eddie, and after that, it became really commonplace. So there's this little sort of lineage between Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen, that 10-year period where everyone was either like, not a Jimmy Page or a Hendrix ripoff, but they all came from the same school. Les Paul through a Marshall, everyone had the same tone, everyone had that arena rock tone. So Eddie changed everything. Also, it's different about most virtuoso guitar players. Eddie was a great songwriter. Van Halen had songs. They weren't, there's other guitar players who have more technical ability than Eddie. Say a guy like Al Di Meola or Alan Holdsworth. But those guys they made instrumental jazz fusion albums. They weren't accessible rock and roll albums. Eddie put that guitar playing into rock. So, yeah, the only reason I'm probably able to make this video today is maybe because I'm still in shock or not believing it. Yeah, it's really, really a sad day for me. When I started playing guitar, actually, it wasn't so much an album, but this video, Live Without a Net from the 5150 tour. I watched this video every day for a couple years and just watched how he played, because there was no YouTube or anything like that back then. You either had to listen to the records and learn it yourself, or even like instructional books and stuff really wasn't available until like the later 80s. Yeah, I've seen Van Halen a bunch of times. Did see them once with David Lee Roth in 2007, so I'm glad I got to see them. But I pretty much saw them every tour from 1988 through 2007 or so. My first concert was a Van Halen concert in 1988 with Sammy Hagar in Madison Square Garden. But the best Van Halen concert, I think, was probably from the Balance tour. I saw him like 3 or 4 times on that tour, but one show in particular, during the summer, they started playing the outdoor sheds, and they played the, now it's the PNC Bank Art Center in New Jersey. Everyone in Jersey still calls it the Garden State Art Center, and that was just like a great show. Everything about it. And the last encore was Dreams, and then a thunderstorm broke out. And at the PNC, their parking lots, you have to actually take a shuttle bus to the parking lot. I just remember the last note hit of Dreams, we start walking, and it's just downpour, and we had to get on the bus completely soaked. And but that was such a great show. Every time I saw him play, he played great. Luckily, I actually didn't see him on the 2004 tour. He wasn't in the best shape. But, yeah, I mean, don't know what else to say, really. If you haven't heard, other than the big Van Halen songs, you should really dive into their catalog. Even the Sammy Hagar stuff. I think Balance, this is my, I would say definitely their most underrated album. If you're a fan of Fair Warning, you'd probably like this album a lot. It's the darkest album they made with Hagar. A lot of songs in drop D tuning. Eddie's playing is just off the rails here. His tone on this tour, if you ever see a live show or bootleg from this, it's just unbelievable. One of the great rock tones I've ever heard in my life. Better than Van Halen 1, I think. But other than that, yeah, I just wanted to pay my little tribute to Eddie, my personal guitar hero, and let me know what you guys think. I don't hear a lot of talk of Van Halen and the VC because they didn't have a whole lot of albums. I think about 10 or 12 throughout their career. And Eddie never really did any side projects. So they're a band with like a limited catalog. And nothing they've ever put out like a box set or unreleased stuff. The one good thing I could say about this is maybe Wolfgang will go into the vaults and start releasing a lot of stuff, because they've been recording at his own studio 5150 since 1983, so there's got to be a ton of stuff there. But anyway, I just wanted to make that video because I probably wouldn't be able to do it tomorrow. I'd probably be more upset. So anyway, have a good night. I'll talk to you guys later.